Hi everyone, this is Rob from RuinWorks, back with this month's first release for January 2024. This is a scene that I have entitled The Desert Temple. It is a 3-level scene plus a roof. Second floor, ground floor, and our basement levels. The scene is meant to depict a temple in the depths of the desert. You can see the stones around the base of the temple are windswept with sand, as well as the pathway leading up to it. So why don't we just dive right in? I'm going to start in the basement for this and work my way up. So our basement consists of 3 levels. There are various transform buttons around the scene, so each of these transform buttons will allow you to customize the room next to it. So just click to cycle through all the images that are available for each of the rooms. So here we have a blank room or an empty room, a room with an unlit brazier, and then one that is lit. If we go down to the middle room here, you can either have an empty bare stone floor, one that is covered in kind of dirt and bones, and one that is filled with pots. My ideas here are, one, for the bare stone rooms, you can take one of my sarcophagus actors out of the RuinWorks Dungeon Actors Compendium and drop it in here and make this into a crypt of sorts. So you can put one in each of these 2 rooms. If we go to the second images, they kind of match. They are a dirty floor with bones. On the middle floor above, there is a trap kind of where this circle of sand is, and I would put something like a snake or some sort of other beast down here through which the PCs would fall into the trap and then have to deal with that beast. Probably something related to the temple above, maybe even worship. And then the last option for the basement here are pots. In my mind, I imagine these pots being filled with ash and sand, the remnants of past acolytes of the cult that lived in this temple. And then over here on the left, room D, this pot that is filled with sand and broken might have at one point held something valuable, or perhaps might be the collected ashes of the high priests. And now that the pot has been broken, they are sort of haunting this area. And between these 2 rooms, I should also mention there is this active tile 4. All this does is hide the door. I put a door here between rooms C and D in case you want to have some sort of separation there. So right now it's hidden. If you go to show reset, we'll put the door in place and it'll function normally like a door. Similar thing is used here for the secret door. The secret door, like I do in most of my scenes, I've included another passage down to possibly another scene if you so wish. Of course, if you don't want to, you can just leave the secret door closed forever. However, if you don't want there to be any wall here and just have it obvious that you can go downstairs, you can just hit the hide button, the door opens, and the image is hidden. And of course, if you do show the secret door, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but if you do, it works normally and opens and closes as you would expect. Lastly, I've also included this little light button by the brazier. Double clicking it just turns it on and off. It doesn't cycle through all the images. You can't quite use the transform button in this case because it goes through an empty version of the room that does not include a light, so you can't toggle it off and on easily. These stairs actually come up underneath the throne, and I'll get that when I get to level 1, but this interaction point here is just to climb up and down the stairs. So like I said, I'm going to go up to ground level when I am talking about the trap. Just keep in mind it is going to place your PCs in the room C. Going up to the ground floor, here we see the main level of the temple. I'm just going to zoom out a bit first. At the front of the temple, I've kind of put these monoliths, and just of note is that the shadow tile is a separate tile, so it is overhead. So tokens will show up underneath of it. You can see the token's a bit darker, and when he comes out, he's a bit lighter. So just adds a bit of variety to the scene. As we enter, the doors do change and open. The roofs are enabled, so when your players enter, the entirety of the roof disappears. And there's a bunch of things going on in this central chamber. So first you'll notice that there's this green drawing. That is a levels drop from 10 to 0. On the second floor, there's balconies around the edges that players can jump off of, or other tokens. So when they enter this square, they will just fall from the second floor directly down to the first. Next, we have this central plaque in the middle of the room. If you go to the right, you can see transform buttons in the right margin, and it says plaque control images. So for the center, the large plaque, hit the button to cycle through the different choices. There are 4 choices available: blank, serpent, lion, and sun. So right now we're on lion. You can see the sun shows up in the middle here. Next is blank. You can kind of see the outlines of the sun and the lion here. That's because those are just hidden. The GM will always be able to see the hidden versions. Players will not, so they will only be seeing the blank one. And then the last choice is the serpent variation. There is also a trap. You can see the sort of hashed tiles here. This is where the trap will trigger. Right now it is on, so the hashed tiles are showing. If you go hit the off button, they disappear, and the token, if it moves into those areas, will not trigger the trap. Set up similarly to my other traps. If you turn it on, the hashed areas appear again, and when a token now enters, you will be sent a notification. So the first notification you will get will be game pause. The token has entered the tipping floor trap. Trigger trap. Image will change and sound will play. Elevation will be considered separately. Damage is not automated. So if you hit no, nothing happens. So we'll trigger it again. This time we'll hit yes. You should have been able to hear a sound play, and you can see the floor is now tipped. We were sent another notification indicating that the trap has been triggered. Do you want to change the token elevation to -10? That is sending it down to the room below. This is where you'd probably want to have your players roll saving throws, and if they succeed, you would hit no, they'd stay up here, but if they don't, you would hit yes, and they would descend downstairs to the floor below. Now you might have heard another stone sound there. That is because after a few seconds, the floor rights itself and it is flat again. So if we trigger the trap, but your player succeeds, you hit no, so they stay on the same elevation, and then a few seconds later, the image returns back to its original configuration. Next, you can see these two arrow tiles in the walls beside the throne. These control the movement of the walls. There's also buttons out in the margin to control it more clearly, so if you want to move the throne down, you can just hit the button and the throne moves out of the way, revealing the staircase down into the cellar. If you hit the up button, the throne moves back into place where it was originally. Same for these other buttons. These ones are just closer to the map, so you don't always have to be scrolling over to find them. Now, how this throne gets activated is up to you. There could be a lever hidden somewhere, or they might just get pushed out of the way by the PCs. Another idea I had was these two plaques. If you look over in the right margin, you can see there's transform buttons for the left and the right smaller plaques. Clicking those will allow you to cycle through the different images available for each of the plaques. And the second thing you can do, if you double click on the plaque itself, it'll play a small noise and rotate the plaque 30 degrees. The reason I think this is important, or how it could be used anyway, is you could set up some sort of a clue for the players. If we're using the lions, for instance, and you had the sun image in the middle, and you can do this for pretty much anything, you could say only when lions face the sun shall the path be revealed. And then you could have your players figure out that they have to turn these things into the right location, so each turn rotates it 30 degrees. And now both lions are facing the sun, if that was your clue. And then you could just open up the throne. And this can be a little bit of a puzzle. The other ideas that I had was you could have a serpent on one side and a lion on the other. And you say only when serpent and lion see eye to eye shall the path be revealed. Then they would have to tell you that they want to rotate these plaques to be facing each other. I have provided a couple of ideas of how to use them in the journal note, which is linked up in the top left. So if you go to the main floor, black image controls, I mentioned that only when the serpent lions see eye to eye, when stars are aligned, the passage you will find. To reveal the way, lions must bow before the sun. So that was my idea with these rotating plaques. Again, just double click them to turn them. So now that the throne has moved, players will be able to see the set of stairs and the interaction point to descend. So if they are close enough, they can just double click on it, say yes to using stairs, and now they're in the basement. I'll just also note that I've made some working secret passages in the sidewalls here. If you want to provide alternate escapes or entrances into the temple. If you go up to the second floor, just double click on the interaction point, pulls the token close, brings them up to the balcony, and they can look down and see everything below. I've also placed here doors so they can come outside and walk around the ledges. I would suggest reading through my journal note to make sure that you understand all the options and get some of the ideas that I had when making these. I hope you like it, and I will talk to you again in a couple weeks. Bye for now.